What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing something a bit different. Today's not a house tour, not a vlog. It's actually going to be an educational video out there for you guys because everyone wants to know the process of actually buying the house. So today I am here with someone very special. Who am I here with today?
Oh, thank you. My name is Kristy Gannon. I'm a local Bakersfield native mortgage advisor. That's a mouthful, but I've basically been helping families for 25 years. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Definitely.
And I look forward to sharing a bit of wisdom with anybody who's listening.
Yeah, so I have a few questions right here for you. I'm sure you have some questions for me. So do you want to start off with the first question?
A big topic that is circulating right now, everybody's online.
Yeah.
And a lot of people they don't know where to start. So you bring up a really good point about people being confused and not knowing where the first step or how to start to get into a home.
Yeah.
And so they start online. Seems normal, right? So I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts around those people who are browsing?
Yeah.
They're looking at different websites and they don't know anything. They're just starting there.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a really good question, actually. And it's okay to browse online. I mean, even I do it sometimes, and people are busy, so sometimes it'll be easier to go on those websites. But sometimes you just gotta be a bit careful when you're clicking on. You just don't want to end up in someone's, or you just don't want to give away your information to someone you don't really know. Yeah. But aside from that, I'm sure your question is, what is the first step to buying a house, right? Is that what you're curious about?
It is. We know people are gonna go online and browse anyways. But what would you recommend is the first, you have a thought, you want to buy a home, and it's a secret thought. Sometimes these thoughts aren't even shared.
Yeah.
It's just someone secretly thinking, gosh, I would like to own a home. What would you suggest their next step be after the general thought happens?
Yeah. So definitely there's like two steps to the first step, if it makes sense, which is first is technically speaking to a realtor, making sure you want to work with that realtor, because choosing the right realtor is going to guide you in the right direction and give you all other information you would need, right? So after you choose who your realtor is, the first important step would be actually talking to a lender, someone like you. You may ask why. Well, a lender is going to let you know what your budget is, right? They're going to run your credit, check your income, check if you have any debts. After that, the lender will be like, hey, you know what? You'll qualify for this much. You'll give them all the information you need. And then that's where I'll come in and start, showing all the houses, making sure that we're looking at the right price range, right? Because when you guys are looking at those houses, I want to make sure you guys are like, I'm gonna give an example. Your monthly payment is about $2,500 a month. So once you're walking in that house, you can be like, do I see myself in this house paying $2,500? Is this something I'm comfortable with? And if so, I think that's why it's very important to speak to a lender, like someone like you, right? As a first step. Or is there anything you would like to add on?
Just to circle back on the topic of people looking and browsing online, I see a lot of confusion. A lot of the websites are giving prices with a house payment. And then when they do come in and sit down and meet with me, we find often that the payment is nothing what they thought. Yeah. And the reason is because a lot of the websites are putting an interest rate that's non-existent today, or maybe it doesn't include the taxes or insurance. So again, like for anybody who's looking online, just be careful that you're not self-qualifying self-qualifying yourself, and that you do talk to a professional to get the truth behind the price point versus monthly payment that works best for you.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes when we look at it, we're like, this is actually not bad, only $2,000 a month for this. And then once you go to a lender, well, on Zillow it told me it was this much, why is it different? Then I think one of the most common things is probably the rates, right?
Yes.
That's what they put a bit lower sometimes than what it usually is.
Sure. Yeah. Everyone's going to use, we're all going to have some sort of, tactic or strategy to help, further the inquiry or the interest of buying a home. And, that just happens to be one of theirs, right?
Yeah. So I actually have a good question for you now. So lots of first-time buyers out there. So I think a common question they have is, what are the most common loans for first-time buyers out there? Is there multiple loans? Is there only one? What's the info on that,
Yes, that's a great question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of answers to that, but the simplest one would be the most common loan type for first-time home buyers is an FHA, government-backed loan. That FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. It offers a 30-year fixed mortgage that includes property taxes, homeowners insurance, and mortgage insurance. So it's very home ownership driven and very protective of the clientele and the families that take that loan. It also has the lowest interest rate in the market today, and has
sorry to cut you off. Is that because it's the government? Is that, you said government issued loan, or?
It's the funds that are being lent to the borrower for the home has an insurance policy, kind of like life insurance, but on a loan. And so it protects the agency, the federal agency, against any future loss. Because it is a government agency, they're willing to take higher risk.
Gotcha.
The government has deeper pockets, I suppose, and so they're able to take on more risk. That being said, the FHA is best for first-time home buyers, really because first-time buyers often, not always, but often don't have all of their ducks in a row. This could be anything from challenged credit to not a lot of money saved, maybe some employment gaps or some discrepancies in the overall loan application. And the FHA loan is very forgiving. So it's there to help people. So the guidelines of getting into your entry level first time buyer home loan there's a lot of expansion there. So it makes it great. FHA also has a very low down payment for people. So anyone who is struggling with coming up with 10 or 20% down payment, FHA is a great option. And
now that you mentioned that, I wanted to ask you, is there any special programs out there to help families, like that's not FHA, but maybe something a bit different? Would you say so?
There are a lot of programs. These programs that help people are typically state-based. So for the state of California, there is a lot. First off, they're statewide based, and then oftentimes they're broken down into county as well. So I'm from Kern County, and the programs that we have available, the most common, there's one called Cal HFA. That agency has been around for 50 years.
Wow.
And so they're very established, and whenever there are grants or funds available, a lot of times those funds are allocated to this Cal HFA agency, and then they in turn will promote opportunities. You recently heard of the California Dream for All program?
Definitely. A lot of people were actually wanting
the
to get that
20% down and the equity shared program. Those funds came in and were allocated to Cal HFA, who then dispersed it how we've all heard and seen. Yeah, and then there's another agency called Golden State Finance Authority. Short name is GSFA, and that's a great program not only for first-time home buyers, because let's be clear, there are people who need to buy a home and maybe it's their second home. Yeah. And they need assistance as well, right? Just because it's someone's second home doesn't necessarily mean they have money. And so the GSFA program is great because it allows co-signers, it allows for you not to be a first-time home buyer, but still gives you some help.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and there's several others.
Yes, but that's just like one of the main ones, I'm assuming.
Top two, I would say.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, do you have any other questions for me?
I do. I have a ton of questions. I have a ton of questions for you. We talked about the stages and the first steps after you think you want to buy a home, which would be, Julian mentioned, first speaking with a real estate agent, and second, getting qualified for the loan so that you clearly know your budget. Second question, after people have met with you, after they've met with me, should they buy now, or should they wait until interest rates fall or until there's a change in the housing market? What are your thoughts on buy now or buy later? Yeah,
and I'm sure a lot of people are also thinking that, should I qualify now, but should I buy now or should I wait? I think at the end of the day, long story short, it just depends on everyone's financial situation and how comfortable they are, right? Because I know a lot of people want to wait for the rates to go down. I think me and you both can agree they're always going up and down, right?
Yes.
But I have a question, because you've been doing this for some time now. House prices, do you see that go up and down, or is it just up?
That's a great question. Specifically with the housing, with the house prices, I have a chart and a graph that shows the last 80 years, okay, of what the market has done over the last 80 years. And only 3 times in 80 years did the market go down. And when it went down a smidge, like 1 to 3% in value. So if we look at history and we say, hey, in the last 80 years, the market went down 3 times, what do you think is going to happen over the next 80 years, right?
Yeah.
So my answer to that question is no. I don't think that the values are going to go down.
And the reason I say that is because some people are waiting for house prices to go down. I know I hear a lot of people say that, but I think, like I said, if you're comfortable with that monthly payment, right, and you're comfortable with the actual cash to close, and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to move forward, I think it's definitely a good option for someone to buy right now, because eventually, as we know, house prices will start going up. You will start building that equity in the house, and then you can later on use this equity to buy either your dream home or just an upgrade, you know?
Sure.
So back to your question, should I buy now or wait? I think it comes to, if you feel comfortable and if you're ready, move forward, because why not, you know? You don't want to rely on the market, because we can't really, there's never a perfect market, right? So if the rates might be a bit high, you can always refinance later, right?
Yes. Yeah. I always like to go into any mortgage situation with not thinking about refinancing later.
Okay. Yeah.
Just, you know, being in the industry many years and going through some housing cycles, we never really know what the future holds. We don't know if interest rates are going to go down to where refinancing is an option. We don't know if you're going to qualify at a future time. You may be able to buy your home today, but you can't refinance later. That's very possible, and we certainly don't know what's going to happen with values as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, people can refinance if an opportunity arises. It's just not something that I would probably count on.
Definitely.
I agree exactly with what you said. Like, if you can afford the payment and it fits within your budget, don't wait. Here's an interesting thought too. How many people, including myself, have thought, I'm not going to buy this year, I'm going to wait till next year. And then next year comes and you look back and you're like, man, I wish I would have bought last year. And then the third year, man, I wish I would have bought last year. And next thing you know, like 10 years have passed and you're just kicking yourself in the rear end for not purchasing that house because values have continued to increase steadily, you know? So many years ago, there was a lot of like for sale by owners and different like opportunities for people. And we don't see a lot of that anymore, but occasionally that conversation comes up. Hey, is it a good idea to purchase a home directly from someone? And if I do, how does a realtor play into that? And what are the pros and cons of using a real estate agent?
Yeah, so using, in my opinion, obviously, I might seem biased because I'm a realtor, but I think definitely using a realtor is very important because we do this for a living, right? So our job is to help guide you guys and explain the whole process, because especially for first-time buyers out there, they don't know what to do, right? That's why we're here to help them. So working with the realtor is really important because we're going to negotiate for them, explain the contracts, go over disclosures, because there's a whole bunch of things that goes on when buying a house. I'm sure you can agree, right?
Especially in the state of California.
Especially in the state of California, yeah. So I actually have a list right here that I'm gonna mention some like key points, right? First things first, guidance to the process, how I mentioned that, right? Negotiations, contracts, disclosures, market knowledge, right? We have an idea, you know what, honestly, this house is a bit overpriced, or honestly, this house is at a great value. I think we should move forward, or we should negotiate this way because this, and that, right? We're also here to protect, I'm gonna give you an example, the buyer's interest, right? We're here to fight for you in some way, kind of like a lawyer, you know, because there's a selling side, there's a buying side. So yes, we're here to protect the buyer's interest and avoid costly mistakes. For example, you're buying a house, some people are like, you know what, I don't want to get a home inspection. Should I get a home inspection? That's where we come in and be like, you know what, I honestly highly recommend you to get a home inspection because it could save you a lot of money. I'm sure you can agree, right? I'm sure when you buy your house, you got a home inspection, and no house is perfect, right? No house is perfect. So if anything, we can use that as a negotiation tactic, or just to get more credit for you, or even make sure you're walking into a safe, great house, right? We want to make sure the roof's not falling apart, stuff like that. So
and sometimes we can't visualize and see what's wrong with a home.
Yeah, definitely.
You walk in, it looks great, you're excited, like you're in love with the property, and your eyes just kind of like rose-colored glasses. You just don't see these things that a home inspection would point out.
Yeah, I've been to some houses too where the whole inside is remodeled, looks super nice, and they're like, no, I don't want to get a home inspection. I'm like, look, I honestly really recommend it because I've never lived there. You have never lived there, so we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
We don't know if they put lipstick on a pig.
Exactly. Yes, that. So a realtor is going to help guide you throughout the process, protect you, and just help you avoid costly mistakes. So
Sure.
definitely, it's very important.
It's worth every penny.
Yes.
You know. Question, you bring up a good point on a home inspection. What's the difference in an appraisal and a home inspection? A lot of buyers are always curious. They often get it confused and think that they're one and the same.
Yeah, so home inspections and appraisals are completely different things. I'm sure you can explain more of the appraisal, but a home inspection, for example, a general home inspection, inspector is going to walk in there, check the roof, plumbing, make sure there's no leaks, make sure appliances are working, like do they turn on, stuff like that. The ceiling fans and stuff like that work, and go into the attic, check what's going on, right? So a home inspection is gonna basically
kind of pick it apart.
Yeah,
give you a book and a blueprint of anything that may have been found. I've even seen on a home inspection cracks on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And not important to the homeowner, but they're gonna point out most anything that you would need to know. Now, are buyers present during the home inspection?
It's not mandatory, but I highly recommend it, especially at least towards the end of the inspection, so the inspector can walk you through, be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not bad at all, but this is what I found. I recommend you getting fixed. Or, I mean, it's rare when it happens, but let's say the inspector goes, he's like, honestly, dude, the roof's falling apart. Don't get the house, So I think it's always, you don't have to be there, but I think it's amazing if you were to show up to the inspection to your future house. You really want to see it in person and see what's going on. Yeah. Back to the appraisal thing, I'm sure since you're the lender, you can explain it a bit better. Yeah. What is an appraisal and why does it benefit a buyer?
Yeah. Well, the bank isn't going to loan money without having collateral and knowing what that collateral is. The collateral in this case is the value of the home for the money that you're getting a loan on, right? So the appraisal is, it typically ranges also between $600 and $700 in terms of cost. How much is a home inspection?
Like $300 to $400.
Okay, yeah. So an appraisal is ordered by the lender, and it's ordered through a third-party appraisal management company. So back in the day, we used to be able to pick up the phone and order an appraisal from our buddy, Rick, and get the appraisal done completely. And now it's done through an appraisal management system, which is there to really protect the investment of the bank, to protect the buyer, right? So there's like no influence given to this value. And the appraisal is usually 25 to 30 pages long. And
so it's like a book.
It's a big, legal form. Like it's a big thing, right? And it shows every detail about the property in terms of square footage, when it was built, when the last sale was, but also it's showing comparables in the immediate neighborhood to support the value that they came up with.
Right. So in simple terms, basically, an appraisal is going to work towards a buyer's favor. Would you say so? No,
not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the good thing about the management system is nobody knows the outcome of this report, right?
Exactly.
A great subject is who came up with the value of this home that's for sale?
Yes.
So
usually it's the listing agent.
Right. The listing agent came up with the value of, hey, Mr. Seller, let's sell your property for $500,000 based on information that they had gathered. But that listing agent's not an appraiser, right? So another reason to order this appraisal report. The value could come back higher than the price, lower than the price, or at the price.
If an appraisal comes back in higher than what the buyer is currently buying it at, would that be a benefit towards the buyer?
For sure. They're going to purchase the property and have instant equity.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like to hear that.
However, it can come in lower.
Okay.
And if that happens, it doesn't necessarily mean that the seller is going to reduce the price and continue moving forward. Both parties then have the opportunity to renegotiate. They can renegotiate to reduce the price to match the value.
Yeah.
They can keep the price the same and ask the buyer to bring in the shortfall, right? So that wouldn't be a benefit. They can also decide to cancel and separate, part ways and start all over. So,
which I think shouldn't be the goal, right? But if worst comes to worst, I think that's obviously an option, right?
Yeah, so and that's why they've hired you as their realtor to do those negotiations and have those uncomfortable conversations should that arise.
We're here to help. We're here to help you out, you guys. So we got you covered.
Yeah.
Now, so I kind of forgot to ask you in the beginning, right? But what are the most common roadblocks you see when people are trying to qualify for a home?
Great question. I would have to say the biggest roadblock is our own self. And what I mean by that specifically is a lot of people are online, ChatGPT, they're putting in their income and their debt and asking how much they qualify for. So self-qualifying or disqualifying probably is a huge roadblock. ChatGPT and other AI tools do not know the guidelines that are, 1,500 pages long, and it can't really sort through some of the things. So I would urge people to, just trust a professional like yourself or myself, and really start there.
Let me ask you this. As we all know, we need a credit score, obviously, to buy a house, to qualify for a loan, How important is a credit score when applying for a house? Like, how important is that?
Yes, having a credit score is very important. Now, while the minimum credit score for an FHA loan is 580, that is just entry level. It is definitely not going to get you the best interest rate and maybe the best offer, but can you buy a home with that? Sure, right? Having a better credit score, I would say a goal would be to be 640 and above, which would put you on the same playing field as most people getting into their first home.
Yeah. So long story short, would you say 580 will get you qualified, but the higher the score, the better?
That's exactly what I would say, yes.
Okay, perfect.
The better the credit score, the better the interest rate, which ultimately means the lower payment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And back again to qualifying, how do I know how much I can afford when buying a house?
That's a great question. I wish there was a straightforward answer, but generally it depends on the client's credit, how much debt they're carrying, what kind of income they're making, and what their assets look like. I'll give you an example. Someone who is getting paid, a couple who's getting paid minimum wage but have absolutely no debt may be able to qualify for a home just fine. However, we've had clients come in who are making $10,000, $15,000 a month, but are also carrying a lot of debt and end up not qualifying.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a matter of someone having a higher income versus someone who doesn't.
Yeah.
It's also about the debt that they're carrying.
So is that debt to income ratio?
It is, yes.
Okay. And can you explain to people what is debt to income ratio? And again, how important is that?
Yes. It's very important. Now, I have a couple of things I'd like to say about it. The income to debt ratio is basically what is your gross monthly income divided by your debt. When I say debt, we're talking specifically about the debt on your credit report. Now, the answer to that will be one number.
Gotcha.
Because it's gross income, your highest amount that you've earned, divided by the debt on your credit report. Okay. But there's so much more to getting qualified. And I don't like to just meet with somebody and use those numbers. I like to break out a personal family budget. I like to go over the net income.
Yeah.
What are you bringing home? Like, what is that number? You know what I mean? That's a real number. The gross income isn't a real number.
You're right.
Quite frankly, I'm surprised banks use gross income. Right?
Yeah, they do.
You're going to use the highest amount somebody makes, not what they actually bring home.
Yeah,
what's
because we all,
the tangible.
aside from credit, we have like just groceries and stuff like that, right? That it's still money,
And really none of that goes into, your standard getting approved for a mortgage. So I go over a personal family budget with people. I did with your clients last night.
Yeah.
I emailed them the budget. But I go over a personal family budget with people and we look at the proposed mortgage payment. What would the PG&E cost? How much are they spending in gas and groceries and living essentials? And we look that up against their net bring home income and really create a more realistic plan. Because if you ask somebody how much can they afford, right? Like, how much can you afford for a home?
Yeah.
Your idea will be one number, and then my outcome may be a completely different number. So I think it's very important to review that with people.
So it's very obviously important speaking to a lender. And now that you kind of mentioned that, it kind of goes off to this: should a person apply online or should they go in person?
Yeah.
What do you think is the better option?
I think that depends on the customer in general. We have some customers who are quite tech savvy and comfortable with applying for a loan. They may know more about how much they make and know some hard facts about their financial profile, and they're comfortable doing that online. However, there's other people who are either elderly or maybe just not mortgage educated, which they're not supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Who prefer someone like myself to sit down with them, walk them through the steps, look at their income. Look, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, honestly, that I ask how much they make and they don't really know.
Wow, really?
Like a lot of families go to work, get a paycheck, come home.
Sometimes we don't make the math. We're just too busy at work, and we're like, I don't even know how much I make.
Or, maybe we just hand the paycheck off to the spouse who pays the bills. Like, see, if you asked my husband how much he made, he probably would say, I don't know, ask her.
Okay, perfect. Which goes back again, that's why it's really important to speak to a lender, right? You.
Now, there is a hybrid option that I highly recommend. If people want to get started online, like they want to go and fill out a brief online application, it's not super detailed, but it is an online application. It helps with speed, and they have a little more control over their application process. Like they know when they applied, they know how they applied, and so there's a little more control there. That's great. But I think the hybrid part of it is still making the appointment to come sit down and go over the results of that and customizing the budget. Once they get pre-qualified, they are just stoked, right? They're so excited. They're out house hunting. They're looking for this home, and the offer is accepted. The greatest day ever, right? All the butterflies, and they're just super excited. What happens next, though?
So that's where the fun part starts. You get me? There's a lot of things that go on, and it's called the process is called an escrow, which is usually 30 days. It could be 45 days. It could close a bit sooner, a bit later. It just depends how smooth the process is. A lot of it has to do with the lending. A lot of it has to do with negotiations as well, like if there's any repairs needed and all that. So again, there's a lot of things that go into it, but I'm going to explain the key points just so the people out there can understand, exactly what goes on. So your offer gets accepted. First things first, you need to send something called an EMD. What is an EMD? You might ask. Earnest money deposit. This deposit is to show that you're at good faith and you're a serious buyer. It does not go to the seller, and it does not go to me. It stays in the escrow company, which is in between. So later on, throughout the whole process, you can get that money back or use it towards your down payment, which I think that's what everyone does, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the first important step, sending your deposit.
So that deposit's needed just to show the seller that you're serious.
Right.
No other real reason.
No, it's just to say, hey, you know what? I'm serious. Here's a deposit. I'm ready to move forward.
Here's a little skin in the game.
Exactly.
I'm a real buyer. Okay.
After that, that's where your inspections begin, disclosures. So for example, like we mentioned before right now, you need to inspect the house. It's not mandatory, but I highly recommend getting an inspection. It's going to benefit everyone, You're going to know if there's anything wrong, what needs to be fixed.
Yeah. Is there a timeline on any of this stuff, or?
Yeah, there is. Usually it's 17 days, right? Okay. So you have 17 days to do any and all inspections. So I like to get a general home inspection and a termite inspection, right? But if you want to get an inspection for every single thing, you're more than welcome.
Like if you wanted to get an inspection on the roof or the air conditioning unit, or if there's a swimming pool, you could do all that.
Oh, you could do all that. Usually the general home inspector will check everything.
Okay.
But if you're like, you know what, I want specifically a roof or specifically a pool.
A specialist in this area. Okay.
You can do that. You have the legal right to do all that. After that, disclosures. Again, there's a lot of things that go on within disclosures, but long story short, it's just information about the house, things you need to know, what's going on even around the house. Like, hey, there's maybe a fire hazard because there's this nearby, or this happened in the house. There was a leak, so it could possibly affect, or a leak and it didn't affect anything. But legally, the sellers need to disclose everything to you guys, and that's where we come in to help explain the process, go over it, why it's really important, stuff like that, right?
Yep.
After that, and also another thing that happens in the beginning is an appraisal, right? Why is it in the beginning? Why do we do an appraisal in the beginning, Kristy?
Just like how you answered, everything needs to be done as soon as possible, and so that you can discover any potential issues. If there's any reason that you want to not continue moving forward with the purchase due to value, inspection, loan approval, or anything, we want to discover that as soon as possible.
Yes. So getting everything done, the sooner the better. And obviously, I'm sure everyone's excited, so they want to get those keys as soon as possible, right? After that, that's where the loan processing, that's where everything goes in, right? More like towards the end of the escrow. Is there anything buyers should watch out for during this, like, for example, 30-day window?
You know what? I think that we do a really good job of leading people and communicating through their 30-day process so that they're pretty prepared with what to expect. On the loan side of things, the loan is going to get approved by an underwriter, and the underwriter has access to tools and information that we don't have, almost like a home inspector, right? They just can see things that your common eye doesn't catch, or your unexperienced eye won't catch. The underwriter's like the same way. So they're going to approve the loan and usually ask for more items from the buyer. So we will be asking for items within the first couple of days. We may ask for items a week later. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of customers sometimes, unless they are made aware up front, then they're not expecting it, and so they get nervous.
Yes.
They're like, hey, I thought my loan was approved on day one, and now you're asking me for items a week or two into it. I'm feeling nervous about this. Why are you asking for this?
Yeah.
So we never want to create or allow negative or uncertain or any of those kind of feelings during the process. So there's that. Sorry, that was like very wordy.
No, that's fine.
Dang.
No, actually,
I just writing books over here. Kristy, what color is it? Well, it started off red and then it looked blue. Kristy, what color is it?
I was actually going to ask you this. During the whole escrow process, should someone buy furniture? So someone buy a car? Would that be smart? Because I'm sure you heard of those situations before, right?
Do not buy anything during the escrow process. Yes. Great
Why?
question.
Why is that very important to not do any of that?
Yes. We're getting you approved one way on day one. That shouldn't change at all on day 30. Okay. So nothing about your application or your loan approval needs to change. Okay.
Gotcha.
There's enough small changes that we deal with on our own homeowners insurance, property taxes, maybe income has changed. So we already have enough to deal with. We certainly don't want any more debt. And having more debt can affect how you were originally approved, right? You want to know something that you bring up a great topic. A really big deal right now is we are running a credit check on people getting qualified, and we can see everything on the credit report, right?
Yeah.
What we can't see is all of these Affirm, Amazon split payments, and these different accounts that people are accessing to make things more affordable. That doesn't show up on the credit report, right? Okay. I had a gal recently buy a $5,000 vacation. Okay.
During the escrow?
During the escrow. She bought a $5,000 vacation, and it wasn't on her credit, and we couldn't see anything. And it shows up on the bank statements. And when the underwriter sees these split payments on a bank statement and asks what it is, we have to provide evidence of what it is. And in that particular situation, she did not qualify to carry this vacation that she had planned, right?
Right.
And so that's a big thing we're dealing with. We're watching for that right now.
So kind of like, you're in escrow, don't go buy a car, don't go on a vacation. Like,
do not buy anything.
After you have those keys in your hand, go ahead and do whatever you want, right? That's awesome. So yeah, I actually kind of forgot to end what is an escrow, right? What is the process? But yeah, after all the lending side and all that process happens, usually I like to do it a day before. We do something called a final walkthrough, right? Why is a final walkthrough important? Well, we want to make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary when we're about to close on this house that's basically going to be yours, right? So there's been times where
or that nothing changed.
Exactly.
Kind of like the loan process. That nothing from day one is being delivered.
It's very similar, yeah. So, and again, make sure all the repairs have been done, but also make sure the stove is not missing, right? It has happened, not because the seller takes it, but I mean, it has happened to me before that someone breaks in the house because it's vacant, so there's no stove, right? So you want to make sure that everything's good. Once you see that everything is good, funding and recording takes place, correct? And then they get the keys and then they're homeowners. So after that, go on your vacation, buy a car, buy some furniture,
go shopping,
right? Go shopping, celebrate.
I have a question. What would be a good time during the escrow process that someone gives a notice to their landlord to get prepared to move out? Like, what ideally would be, in your opinion, a good time to give notice?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So when should you let your landlord know that, hey, I'm moving out, I'm sorry, I'm not renting no more? I think more when you're almost sure it's going to happen. What do I mean by that is inspections have been done, everything looks good, everything has been repaired if needed, right? Or is about to be repaired. The appraisal looks good, and you're like, you know what, everything's like, it's looking like it's solid, we're going to close. It's feeling good.
We're doing this thing.
Give that phone call, hey man, I'm sorry, thank you for everything, but I'm buying my own house now. And again, everyone might want to let them know right away. they might want to let them know at the end. But I think that's like the perfect little, what do you say, like little gap or little frame when to let the landlord know.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of people are afraid they're going to have 2 payments.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay rent this month and then immediately have a mortgage payment. So if you don't know this, you always skip your first month's mortgage payment.
Okay.
Sometimes 2.
Kristy, thank you so much for having this awesome conversation with me and the viewers out there. I'm sure a lot of them were curious to what the process is and what it takes to own a house, right? So if any of you guys out there are looking to buy a house, sell a home, send me a message. I'll put all my information up on the screen. You know, I'm more than happy to help you guys out, especially for you guys first-time buyers. Don't be afraid to take the first step, to make that phone call. You know, I'm here to guide you guys and make you guys feel confident throughout the whole process. Kristy, I'm not sure if there's anything you would like to say to the viewers out there?
You know, just trust the process. Believe in yourself and don't ever give up. I would say probably, here's my philosophy. If a customer has ever called or reached out and thought of buying a home, that thought's never gonna end.
Yeah.
So whether you do qualify today or can't afford a home today, it doesn't mean that you're gonna stop thinking about it, right? I wanna make sure that I'm there for you when that time does come and that we stay in proper communication throughout that journey of getting ready if today's not your day.
Yeah, and like I tell everyone, it's a relationship thing. So even after that transaction closes, then the relationship never ends. So if questions come up in the future, a week from now, a month or years, I'm always going to be here to help you guys out. So don't be afraid to find the right realtor. If you guys want to choose me, I would really appreciate that. I'll connect you to the right lender like Kristy. We work as a team and we'll make it happen. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys have any other questions, let us know down below in the comments. And until next time.